Hey everyone, it's John, and I'm here in the Chateau de Active Self-Protection. Welcome to my kitchen. It's not the cleanest thing that it's ever been, but hey, whatever. I just got a wild hair, and I thought I would do something fun. I've been having some discussions. There's been some brouhaha lately over a couple of cleaners, particularly FireCLEAN and Froglube. So I thought, let's do a low temperature test. This is not going to be a scientific test necessarily because I don't have the means to do that, but I just thought I'd run through some of this stuff and let's see what it does. Now, I personally don't really care about low temperature much because I live in Phoenix, for gracious sakes, but you might, and it's, getting into fall, so there might be some questions here that we could answer. And so I just thought we'd do a test. Why not? So here's what I have. I have 3-in-1 oil. This is that classic stuff that my pop, who's a Vietnam vet, loves so much on his guns. FireCLEAN. Now you go, gosh, John, that tube of FireCLEAN doesn't look brand new. It's not. It came out of my cleaning kit, so that's why it looks the way it does. Froglube, same thing. This is the newest formulation. I've had this for about a year, so it's it's new stuff. Hoppies. Did you pronounce it hoppies or hops? I don't know. I always called it hoppies, so it's hoppies to me. I have a break free. Now this one does double duty. I clean my motorcycle chain with break free, so there you go. And then in light of some of the Donnybrook, this is your absolutely top-end Kirkland Costco brand canola oil. And here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna pour them into some shot glasses. I had to kind of go and scrounge shot glasses. I'm gonna pour them into shot glasses. I'm going to cover it with some plastic wrap. I'm gonna throw it in my freezer for 4 hours. We'll get a look at them and how they kind of act in the glass beforehand, and then freeze them for 4 hours and see what changes. My freezer's set to 0 degrees. I'm also going to put my Taurus TCP. I realize people love or hate this gun. A lot of people hate it. They think it's a jam monster. It's not for me. This gun is super duper reliable for me. And so what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna load snap caps. Now the cool part is I have 6 snap caps here that I'm gonna load. Now, one of them, I don't know if you're gonna be able to see that or not. You might not be able to see it, but I can see it. We'll get closer ups of it. This one has a primer strike. I just loaded it in the magazine and put it in the firearm and dropped the hammer on the firearm, pulled the trigger, pull it out again. I'm gonna do this again the safe way. And you can see it's got a primer strike on it. This gun has been cleaned to manufacturer specs with Froglube. I stripped it in my sonic cleaner. It had absolutely nothing on it. I lubed the parts as said in the manufacturer spec with Froglube. There's no residue left on it or anything. So now I'm gonna load 5 more snap caps in the magazine afterwards. We're gonna see if I have any fouling. We're gonna see if we have any problems with the firing pin, because I know because of this one that I've done it with, that here at room temperature, which in Arizona, I think my house is set at 78 right now, is able to get a great primer strike, and this gun has been very reliable for me, so I know it's a regular one. You go, well, gosh, John, why not use your VP9? Well, I'll tell you why. It's because I'm wearing my VP9, and I don't want to take it off because I'm going to leave these in the freezer for 4 hours, and I got to go run some errands during that. So we're going to put all these together and see what we find. Low temperature, we might have a problem, and I want to know what Froglube does because that's the solvent that I use personally. I want to know what FireCLEAN does, because there's some brouhaha. We'll see what the rest of these do just for fun. So let's see what happens. Okay, so we have filled them all, and I am just gonna show you kind of what each one does here. Let's see if I can get that in the shot well. As you can see, that is kind of how the 3-in-1 oil acts. Pretty thin stuff. Next is FireCLEAN, and you can kind of get a feel for that. A little bit thicker than the 3-in-1 oil. Next one, Froglube. You can see that obviously by the greeniness. I would say definitely thicker than the other ones. It's definitely, when you squeeze a bunch of frogs into a bowl, that's what you get. That's a joke, by the way, friends. This is the hoppies. So I would say probably like 3-in-1 oil, just about there. Straight truth, my break free, this is my break free. And you can see there's nasty stuff in the bottom. I don't know that this is going to be a valid test. I'm at the very bottom of my bottle, and it had some nasties in it. It's a little thinner than really any of the other stuff. A little thinner. And finally, canola oil. This is my canola oil, and you can see how that acts right there. It's about the same as the FireCLEAN or the 3-in-1 oil. So let's top them, let's freeze them, let's see what happens. Oh, and let me show you as well, because I've got it. I gotta find it here again real fast. Let's see if I can show it to you. Right there, you can see the firing pin strike. Right there, you can see the firing pin strike on the first one. This is the control right here. Okay, here we go. I think that we have everything we need to know here. I'm at 2 hours and 45 minutes. And so the first one that we're gonna look at here is the 3-in-1 oil. That's this one right here. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna swirl it so you can see, and you can see, man, barely. I'm gonna pour it out just so you can kind of get a feel for what it's doing here. And you can see thick, obviously. It's like honey, okay? Next, FireCLEAN. Okay, so here's the FireCLEAN one. Oh, dropping stuff. And you can see the FireCLEAN one is, it's solid. I can't pour it out. FireCLEAN is absolutely solid. It's like a gel is basically what it is. Feels like a gel. Next, Froglube. You can tell because it's green. Also solid. Will not pour out. Same thing, kind of a gel, kind of gel-like. So there goes that. Next, Hoppies. Hoppies number 9. And is that going to pour it all? I don't think so. It looks to me like same thing, just solid. So none of these guys like the fact that they are under 0 degrees at all. Break free is the next one. So that's how we went through in there. And you can see the break free is still running. I wouldn't even say, yeah, honey. I'd say it's kind of like honey, like a thin honey, maple syrup. I'll call that one maple syrup, not the least of which is the color. Finally, again, high grade canola oil a la Costco. And that canola oil is solid. It's solidified. It is a thinner kind of paste. It is not, as I stick my finger in it, it is not as thick as the FireCLEAN. The FireCLEAN's definitely more solid, and the Froglube definitely more solid. So if you say that FireCLEAN is just canola oil, it's not. It's definitely more solid at a frozen temperature than the pure canola oil is. So I know that's a big brouhaha. I'm not saying it's canola oil. It doesn't act the same at the very least. So the only thing we have left to do then is think about that TCP that we put in the freezer. So let's go take a look. So I think we can see pretty clearly here that all of these had problems. They've been sitting out on the counter for a few minutes now, and the canola oil's coming back around pretty well. The FireCLEAN a little bit. Definitely the Froglube is still in kind of a semi-liquid state. So I would say in a low temperature environment, out of the ones that are here, I think that the break free probably worked the best. At least it stayed the most liquid of any of them. And the 3-in-1 oil a little bit as well. The Hoppies is starting to come around. Froglube's doing worst of all of these for sure. So in a low temperature environment, if I was just thinking about that right now as it stands, this one is having the most problems. Let's move these out of the way here, and I want to go grab the gun and see how it does with that low temperature environment, because I did what it said. So let's get it out of the freezer. And again, I'm not playing games here. I really did stick it in my freezer. It really is cold as all get out. I don't have it temped, but it is really cold to the touch. Like that's icy. You can see it starting to get a little bit of ice crystal on it. So magazine with those in it. This gun, well, we're gonna see. Let's see how it does. Okay, it chambered right up. I didn't have any problems with it chambering at all. Let's see how that did now. So I'm gonna drop that so that it doesn't show me there. I'll show you, it got a great primer strike. I didn't have any problems with that at all. Let's do it again. This gun, like I say, I haven't had any problems with. Drop that slide there. No problems with it chambering whatsoever. Slide, and I held that up so that one's in there. Man, I think I'm getting great primer strikes, so I'm not at all worried about this gun, actually. So out of all of them, so those are those ones. Let's get the last couple here, and we're going to compare them. Last one. So now I've got them all out of here. And like I say, this thing is cold. I cannot hold the slide for any kind of length of time. But I had a perfectly functioning firearm. At least, I mean, here looking at it, I don't see any pooling up. I don't see any problems. I mean, again, it's super, super cold. Like ice cold. I would guess it's at the temperature of my freezer, which my freezer is set to 0 degrees, so it's probably at that. And I don't see any pooling up or any problems. So the Froglube did definitely have the most viscosity in those cold temperatures, but with a gun that's clean to manufacturer specs, that didn't have any extra on it, that didn't have any petroleum-based products before, I didn't have any problems with it. You can see it even now, it's kind of beating up. You can see the condensation because it was so darn cold. So now with the condensation on, I'm gonna have to take it back, probably re-clean it, reset it and all that stuff, and heat it. But would I trust it? I don't know, man. There's a lot of discussion out there right now. There's a lot of questions about that. It definitely was the thickest at low temperature. At 0 degrees, by far, it was the thickest. It was solid. As it warmed up, it has maintained the most solid, but then at room temperature, it was the most viscous. So that's what I would have expected anyways. But the gun functioned flawlessly. I did not have any jams with this gun at all, at least with that magazine. And I'll show them to you, but the primer strikes look identical to me. So looks like the gun is functioning flawlessly. Like I say, this gun before this had been cleaned according to the manufacturer's recommendations. So I stripped it completely is what I did. I put it through my sonic cleaner, so it was utterly wiped of anything else. Froglubed it like Froglube says to Froglube it. And it was really hot when I did so that was the heat treatment. And then it's probably had 100 rounds through it after that. So it hadn't been cleaned in about 100 rounds, not filthy by any stretch of the imagination. This gun is usually reliable for me, so I expected it to be able to perform if the lube held up. Seems like it did to me. I'm not having any problems. So what does that mean for you? I don't know. Would I trust this? Would I trust Froglube if I lived in Kalamazoo, or if I lived in Flint, Michigan, or whatever? Or would I use something like 3-in-1 oil that has more low temperature? Well, for me, I keep my gun appendix, so the gun is on my person, so it's going to be warmer than that. I can't imagine it's going to get to 0 degrees, so I don't think I'd have a problem with it. If it was a gun that I was keeping in a cold environment, in a glove box, something like that, might that be a consideration? Maybe. For me, I live in a very warm climate, so it doesn't have any problems for me. Whatever that does for you, just thought I'd do the test. Have a good one, everybody.